What's good, YouTube? Menace Steel here, and today's video is going to be a little different from what I usually post, as with first ranked season coming to a close and a new pack coming right around the corner, it didn't feel right to like release a deck breakdown or anything similar to like gameplay due to it not being very relevant, or I guess making much sense due to the time frame. So that's where the idea of discussing like the state of Pokemon Pocket, or like where it is currently, came to mind, and I couldn't do it without y'all because I only have like my experience. So that's when I went out to Facebook groups, Reddit, and even my YouTube discussion board and asked y'all for your hottest takes in Pokemon Pocket, and y'all did not disappoint. But before we begin, I'd like y'all to consider liking and subscribing, as we post all things Pokemon Pocket, from expert solo battle guides to meta reports and everything in between. So let's get right into the video, and above all else, stay pro. The Wug is all-knowing and does not in fact attack at random. This one I was a bit skeptical about adding into the video because I wasn't sure about how much of a hot take it was. I think everybody's aware of the menace that Wugtrio is and how it has no remorse and every hit's intentional. But just in case, it got a lot of upvotes, so like a lot of people agree, and it was also on my post of hot takes. So here it is. And if you don't believe me, watch this unreleased footage of when I was trying to record the expert solo battle for Wugtrio. At least this time, if the Rapidash in the front survives, we do have a win condition. And if that isn't proof enough, or hasn't been your personal experience, consider yourself lucky that Wugtrio hasn't made you a target yet, alright? It's stupid we can't trade promo cards. Those would be the best things to trade. For this one, I wanted to jump right into my personal collection, as somebody who has not missed a single like promo event or drop, and I've gotten lucky with like the Wonder Pick ones where I've been able to get my like playset of each one so far. Although some I've cut it close, I'm not gonna lie. It's like how much I would benefit if they would allow these things to trade. Granted, these are the ones you get from the shop, nothing big deal. These are like one-ofs, you can't get more of those. But look at these. Like if somebody wanted a chance here, a Meowth, I have multiple. The first event ever, I grinded so much and I got 10 Lapras EX. I'm aware that it didn't become playable, that it's not going to see any play, but for a collector, you imagine how many things I could trade for this Lapras, like how many people would want it, especially like people that got late into the game. I know a card that a lot of people are after is this Mankey. I have 8 copies of Mankey. Not as much as I would like to. Look, I have like 13 Pikachus. That would have been better. But I mean, like 13 Mankeys would have been better. But I know a lot of people that need this Mankey, and I have 8 for no reason, right? I could like, and I've yet to like flare any of these promos because like once they make it available to trade, if they ever do, you kind of want to have access to those cards. You see here, the Venusaur I had 4. Greninja, I think I have less because I think I did flare that one, but still 10 copies is crazy. I'm aware that certain ones like this, you can only have like 1 copy of each because they were like exclusive. Like this was like, I think the New Year's one. This is from the past. But stuff like this, like Blastoise, I think Blastoise is one of those where I just got my 2 copies and that was it. So I was less lucky with that. But like Lapras, I could easily trade. And then in terms of, I think the biggest one is like that Mankey that was exclusive and sees play to this day. Other than that, you know, like for example, like people want their Gibbles now that Garchomp maybe with rare candy sees more play and stuff like that. I'm aware I'm a whale that I've bought like every single possible, but still, look at this. Like this most recent event is one of the ones that I least grinded. As you can see, I only have like 4 copies of like these commons here, but I pulled 10 Palmots. Maybe somebody was unlucky, didn't get their Palmot. You see, I got my playsets already of these, and it would just be amazing if I could just trade these to people who didn't get theirs, and like, or at least like be able to like convert them into materials to do trades or something. I don't know, something to do with these promos. Another thing I would add to this list is like 2 stars. I wish I could trade for 2-star cards. I love full art trainers. And wait, hold up, what is that? This is a hot take video, and I keep saying what everyone's thinking. You have to put a sweater on due to how cold the takes are? What about this? The people who complain about the downfalls of the trading system are completely missing the point of the trading system. You aren't meant to be able to trade anything to anyone at any time until you collect all the cards. Trading is meant to be a way to get a couple cards from your friends to round out your set, not be the majority of it. Who wrote this? Wugtrio? Anyways, jokes aside, they did make an official announcement about like 6 weeks ago, confirming that changes were coming by the end of autumn. So in terms of like trade currency and like, but more importantly, in this entire message, what like caught my eye was that at least they recognized that promos and 2 stars weren't tradable, and they're kind of looking on how to implement that. However, that's the last we've heard about it, and what's this called? And late autumn is not like too convincing, like not too reassuring. However, the fact that they do recognize it leads for like, at least there's a chance, right? The pack releases are at a perfect pace right now. I can get all the cards needed for meta decks day 1 and typically get all the cards I need by week 2. Then again, I do have fairly good wonder pick luck. This one is interesting to me because from a gameplay standpoint, I kind of agree in the sense that I do technically get the cards I need like essentially like at the beginning. Granted, I do like swipe my card every time, but even when I was free to play, like I remember in Genetic Apex, I was able to get like the decks that I wanted to play rather easily. Like granted, I went straight for Mewtwo, I went for Koga. Like if I wanted Mewtwo, Charizard, and Pikachu, then obviously it wasn't like that easy. But I can see what they mean by in terms of like getting like playable is easy to do. But we're talking about this game's not just for people that are trying to play. This game has collectors. This game has whales like myself that I don't want just playable. I want the shiniest things. I want my full art trainers. I want 2 stars. I want immersives. I want the gold. I spent too much to get 2 gold Pokeballs, by the way. We're not gonna talk about that. Let's skip right over that. However, there is more people that agree with this initial take, like this one. Frequent new sets are fine, even for free-to-play players. The problem is power creep, which brings, I guess, the question of how do y'all feel about how Pocket handles new releases in the term of like, I personally believe that they've done a good job of like mixing it up. Every time they release something, it kind of like trumps over whatever was the top meta deck, but it doesn't completely like nullify what was going on. Like certain decks still keep up, like Gyarados is still viable all the way from Mythical Island. With Giratina, Mewtwo became playable, although slightly people got used to how to play against that and it didn't really matter. Gallade from Space Time wasn't like initially a good deck, but then it started creeping up and it's still like here, there, fighting for its life. Rampardo's the same. Dialga might see play now with like certain cards that are coming out in the next set, but it completely died out in this one, and they keep like doing that, and I feel like they've done a good job about it. However, I do feel like that power creep is slowly creeping up in as releases come. As Giratina definitely is like the strongest card they've released to date, in my opinion. Cards like Rare Candy might be stepping a little too close to, like getting too close to the sun in that case, but we will get into Rare Candy, as trust me, there was a lot of takes on Rare Candy. Another interesting take that I saw was this one. Essentially brings up the idea of card games like Snap, that instead of like constantly releasing cards that are changing the meta, they tend to like adjust the cards based on like performance, on whether it's getting played too much or not enough. They'll either buff it or debuff and like kind of adjust the format that way. Personally, in a game especially like Pocket that has so many cards, like Snap, you only have a 12 card deck or whatever, but when like at what point do you stop? And also they could just like release, like since they will start releasing like more Gengars, more of this, more of that, they don't really benefit from like improving the Gengar from Genetic Apex. They much rather just release a new one. So I don't see that happening. However, I'm all ears to what y'all opinion is on that. And on the other hand, there is players with takes that align a little closer to mine with or maybe even the majority, from my opinion, from my point of view, which is I think the new sets are releasing too close to each other and we should get a little more time within expansion sets. And long story short, my wallet agrees. The meta isn't as bad as people are claiming it to be, and just are upset they can't win with their homebrew. First of all, I want to apologize to anyone using their homebrew. You caught astray in me wanting to focus on his first point, which was that the meta isn't as bad as they claim. And I'm aware, if you look at my latest meta report, Giratina Darkrai is taking up like 30%, over 30%, like a third of the entire player base in terms of like how many people are on it. And I don't necessarily think that's aligning to like a bad meta. If anything, if we look at these opinions, we could see that in the grand scheme of things, we're seeing like a far wider like variety of decks that are either played or at least playable. It just so happens that Giratina Darkrai, at least in my opinion, hits that like that perfect spot of being both competitive and like thought-provoking, in the sense that, well, as close as you could get to that in Pocket, there's a lot of coin flips, there's a lot of luck. Like if your opponent opens Darkrai Giratina and you open just Darkrai, their Giratina being built up essentially means you're out of that game. But let's say in a perfect world where you both open your exact hands, you have like, once that game gets going, I think it's one of the most like fun or interesting like plays that I've had in current, like, I know it's a short history, but that's like where I'm getting at, because some of the most like fun I've had is outplaying opponents in the mirror, whether it's like using Mars before they expect it, or playing around their Mars, or knowing when to use my potions or my tools, not just like, oh, I have them, so let's use them. Although with potions it kind of feels that way, and until you get hit with Team Rocket Grunt, then there's zero fun. This format, why'd they make Team Rocket Grunt? Rare Candy will make the game worse. Happy to be proven wrong. Before I get to the overwhelming opinion about Rare Candy, I wanted to highlight this take, and time will tell who is correct, but I can get behind the idea that decks like Giratina Darkrai will still be effective off consistency alone, that Rare Candy can't necessarily offer. However, I do believe that having a stage 2 as early as Rare Candy allows could be a huge issue going forward, and it seems like most people agree. And I'll take this time to like discuss my thoughts on Rare Candy, as I believe it'll have some major implications. I mean, applications as well as implications. And I'm generally excited to see which takes over the meta, because number one, there's obvious bringing out your finisher one stage earlier. That includes, but it's not limited to EX Pokemon such as Charizard, Gallade, Infernape, but even some like non-EX finishers like Rampardos, Masquerada, and Togekiss. Those are all like targets that will be improved by Rare Candy, or at least like sped up, especially like the latter of I mean, everything from Gallade, Infernape, Rampardos, Masquerada, all of those attack with just 2 energy or less, especially Rampardos. So being able to summon those a turn earlier will definitely bring benefit to those strategies, as you'll be much more aggressive before like anybody was expecting it. Granted, now with Rare Candy, everybody's expecting it nonetheless. But Rare Candy will also bring out the playability strategies that are a little more anti-meta in terms of like the genetic Apex Gengars. Either one, either you bring out the EX one early and they can't use supporters at all, or you bring out the non-EX version and start attacking early and once again knocking out their supporters. Or imagine finally turn 2 Beedrill, like you just go Weedle, use Rare Candy into Beedrill, got your 2 energy. That's of course if you're going second, and immediately start knocking out their energy. Like literally turn 1, you're going second, right? You put an energy, pass. Turn 2, you go Beedrill. I mean, Rare Candy into Beedrill, add a second energy, and they have only 1 energy available, and you just, that's it. They're locked out of the game. Granted, you know, there's Misties, there's Team Rocket Grunts that could slow you down. There's certain like strategies that they could start building up the bench, but just imagine, all right? Like have some fun with me, basically. Being able to do that with Beedrill is probably what they intended for it to do from the beginning, and Rare Candy makes it like a more viable or more realistic strategy to just lock out your opponent from energy whatsoever, with the help of Team Rocket Grunt and all that. But maybe I'm just being an optimist. Regardless, application number 2 that I want to talk about is something that I was looking forward to more with the Rare Candy, which is a facilitation of like support roles in generic cards such as Dusknoir, Greninja, and Pidgeot, or even type-specific cards such as Gardevoir, Crobat, and Superior. My fear is that as cool as these support like strategies seem on paper, they might just be completely overshadowed by the initial strategy, which is just bring out a finisher and running through your opponent's board. Ultimately, time will tell how any of these takes age, as some sooner rather than later, as a week from now we'll know if Rare Candy has an instant impact in the meta, or maybe it's not as good as we think, or regardless of what Rare Candy does, we'll know a week from now. However, with things such as like trading, like we already know that the currency doesn't change till like late autumn, whatever that is to them. And as far as like trading 2-stars and promos, we know even less about. But you know, fingers crossed on being able to trade for some full art reds. You know what I'm saying? Am I right? As always, if you've gotten to this part of the video, I want to first of all thank you for watching, and once again ask you to consider subscribing, as it means a lot, and we're creeping ever so closely to 400, and every sub counts. With that said, I wish you all a great end of the season, and above all else, stay pro.